Forget about skeletal arsonists and snipers. How about we level with frost mages? Instead of fighting a boss, you'll just be permanently frozen and pummeled by your dudes. And instead of being pushed by your enemies, especially during the dreadnought, ice bombs will just freeze the whole field and shatter them to pieces. And the coolest thing, little frost mage joke, cringe. It works from Act 2 on, all the way into the endgame, pinnacle bosses, Arbiter of Ash, tier 15 maps, whatever you can imagine. In order to give you the best experience, I'll tell you what to pick in Act 1, 2, 3, cruel, into the endgame to make your progress the smoothest possible. While we're also not just showing you the passive tree, I'm going to click through it point by point so you know when to choose what. Let's begin with Act 1. And I said forget about the skeletal snipers, but you still need them in Act 1 because they just make it the smoothest possible. In Act 1, we'll play with our skeletal warriors together with the snipers into Unearth and also the Flame Wall. And as a spirit skill with level 14, we're adding Raging Spirits. These together create our explosive gas bombs with a wall to ignite the enemy and the gas bombs, the Unearth in between to summon your army of minions, and the Raging Spirits as bonus DPS on top as you use the Flame Wall anyways. As your snipers shooting through it, they're getting more DPS by making their arrows be fire, and you're igniting the gas bombs. It all fits perfectly together and it's super convenient. As your very first support, your snipers are going to get the scatter shot, so they simply shoot more shots. And you'll also give them the martial tempo to higher their actual DPS, but also make the ability just be faster to use. In order to put your flame wall faster down, we're going to have the arcane tempo and also the fortress support to make it a circle. Your skeletal warriors are going to get something interesting. First, meat shield to make them more tanky, and then you'll add lacerate because now they can inflict bleeding, which has your enemies be gassed, burned, bleeding, and just get pummeled consistently by your skeletal snipers through the flame wall, with the Raging Spirits biting their booty. And for your passive points in Act 1, we'll begin with damage to your minions and maximum life into bonus spell damage. Then we'll go over to the right side, and here you want to pick up the mana regeneration, that you can really always use your abilities and never struggle with this, plus then making your minions revive faster, that they're not so long dead if they die, plus more damage, attack and cast speed. And then the next stop will be all the way to the right here into even faster revival. This is amazing. Now we get them really quick coming back up again. The next revival that we want is all the way here on the left. But going for this would be inefficient. What we'd rather do is we weasel out more max life, ignore this node, you don't need to spend the point here, and then we get even more damage, cast speed, movement speed, everything, making them better. This will then have us move upwards because we want to have less spirit reservation that we can then get more minions. This is roundabout going to be it for Act 1. And things are changing as soon as we can pick up tier 5 gems. Your first tier 5 gem will go into Pain Offering because that gives us 30% more attack speed and cast speed. Your minions do more damage. I mean, Pain Offering is just simply amazing. Yes, your Frost Mages are also a tier 5 gem, but pick them up after beating Count Geonor, because with Gas Bombs, he's just simpler to beat. Pain Offering won't receive any supports in the beginning, because he needs tier 2 and tier 3 supports. For Raging Spirits, to have them deal some more damage early, you can give them a Fire Infusion. Then, you'll just wipe Count Geonor off the face of the earth. Now keep in mind, I have a lot of snipers already. And that's because I've been using 2 specific items. That would be the Oakthorn Sigil Crest Shield for 50 more spirit, and also the Enfolding Dawn for another 100 spirit. The Enfolding Dawn has a problem. Intelligence provides no inherent bonus to maximum mana. Therefore, you don't have a lot of mana, but we have good mana regeneration to refill. These 2 items make everything faster. They're not needed for this to work, but they'll just make it more fun to play, as you run around with so many more minions early. Okay, Count Geonor out of the way, Act 2. We need to change some things, because now the skeletal snipers are leaving. And we'll straight away get our Frost Mages in. They cost somewhat more spirit than the snipers straight away, so you will have less of them. And they won't do this big area boom in the beginning. You will give them the Scatter Shot, but instead of Martial Tempo, they'll need Arcane Tempo because they're actually casting. Now, if you want to go above and beyond, if this is not your first character, you'll instantly give this another jewel, and you would equip the Wild Shard support. because this will have their attacks boom out in a circle around them, making them absolute AoE monsters. It does work without doing this. It does work without doing this. I did not boost them in this way, and I had a great experience. Just saying, if you want to streamline your experience, that would be an option. On Earth, I haven't been using it at this point anymore. You might as well remove it. It's a simple Skeletal Frost Mages together with a Flame Wall, because the Flame Wall boosts their damage as well. That will summon the Raging Spirits. In between, you're going to Pain Offering one of your Frost Mages or Skeletal Warriors to get way more damage. And obviously use the command ability from the Skeletal Frost Mages to command Ice Bomb to just boom things into pieces. Since your Flame Wall has a support gem open, you can slam in the Spell Cascade support to have just enough Flame Walls everywhere that your Skeletal Mages truly shoot through everything. Now in Act 2, you also get tier 7 gems, but we don't want Vulnerability, Profane Ritual, or Detonate Dead. None of them is needed. What we want to have though would be the Hypothermia Curse. We're doing cold damage, so why would we not have the minus in cold resistance? And Hypothermia will straight away get persistence to be active longer, and also the heightened curse to just do more resistance minus. And since we started playing Skeletal Frost Mages, there's one more thing we can add for more damage, and that would be the Frost Bomb. Frost Bomb puts exposure on your enemies. Yeah, they'll get even more damage from cold stuff. So we get the minus resistance minus and the frost exposure. Now you're not going to play the frost bomb for damage because you don't have anything to scale that. You don't have a wand. We're going to put fast forward on it so it activates faster. And then you can also give it a glaciation support to freeze even harder. With this together, you'll put the frost bomb into someone with the ice bomb from the Skeletal Frost Mages and like everything is just simply always frozen. Now in Act 2, you're also going to ascend, and that gives us minion life into the Loyal Hellhound. The Loyal Hellhound serves multiple purposes. First and foremost, he does ignite everyone, which is amazing later for our Storm Mages. Don't worry, we'll get to that. But he will also function as our tank. So we'll get the meat shield support of the Skeletal Warriors, as we tend to sacrifice them every now and then with the offering. And our Skeletal Warriors on top will get the Brutality Gem for more physical damage. More physical damage, more bleed. And for our Infernal Hound to be bonus sturdy, I'm just going to give him the Infernal Army. Get some more elemental resistance, doesn't hurt to have. Now that's it for Act 2. Get your Frost Mages to freeze everything, put the Flame Wall down for the projectile damages, Raging Spirits are still raging, you now get the Hound on top to help you, while you get the Frost Bomb for the cold exposure, and still the Offering for that insane damage booster. Now, the problem with the Offering is that we sacrifice a minion, and that can be annoying, but we have a fix for this. Before we talk about that, let's go further into our skill tree though, because we're gonna go up now. This is the most convenient way. We can put in 2 gems with bonus minion damage, for example. Then we'll move straight up through without picking up the enhanced barrier. You might notice, Pony, you haven't taken much energy barrier. It wasn't needed. With the shield I had, despite being low energy shield and armor, I am super tanky, and the Frost Mages, they freeze everything. I died one single time on my way to Act 3, and that was because I was a complete bot. Now, we're going to move up here into the minions have reduced reservation. You want this, as this will straight away allow you to summon more minions. And then you'll give them also the physical damage reduction. This is the most important pathing to take, that you really just reach this ASAP. Then you can also weasel out another big energy shield bonus and elemental resistance. Now, how would we fix the pain offering feeling shitty? And that comes with the Skeletal Storm Mages, and lastly, at the very end, with the Skeletal Clerics. These are going to be our next monsters to add to the fray. We tried to play the Skeletal Reavers with a bonus physical damage, and they were kind of nice. But if I would go back right now, I would just fully invest in the Frost Mages, as we have the exposure, the hypothermia, everything. Now, what do Storm Mages and a Cleric do? I currently have 2 Storm Mages and 1 Cleric. 1 Cleric is more than enough. 1 Storm Mage is also enough. For the campaign playthrough, later on maps, with the monster density, you might want to have 2. Now, the Storm Mages allow you to apply Shock. That's another 20% bonus damage with all the damage we're dealing. And the Clerics are healing, but also reviving minions. Which means if we offering up a Mage, and he dies, then the Cleric goes straight away vololol, and he's actually back. In order to always have him vololol, you want to have the second wind. That means he has 2 cooldown uses for 2 rests. And with the Ingenuity, he can do that faster. Your storm mages need 3 gems to really be super efficient. First, conduction to actually shock more. Then cursing currents, so the shock shocks everyone around the shock target. And lastly, stormfire. Shocks from supported skills do not expire on ignited enemies. Now, since we have the Raging Spirits, Flame Wall, and the Infernal Hound, who always ignites, our enemies will always be shocked, and we always shock everyone. Very good bonus damage. Bosses, rares, packs of mobs, everyone. As his 3rd gem, our warrior is getting his Splinter to break some armor. Since our minions are still doing some physical damage, why not? Any kind of DPS gain is always welcome. And the Infernal Hound gets fire exposure. Since we're igniting already, we have the Flame Wall, we have the Raging Spirits, might as well get it. And since he does have a forced gem slot right now with his level 20, I added the MAME support to slow down enemies' movement and evasion rating. Our Skeletal Frost Mages, if you manage to get the 4th one, will receive Feeding Frenzy for another nice damage boost. They'll take some more damage, but it doesn't really matter. But for the Raging Spirits, you can add Immolate, as we always have our enemies ignited, and we don't need the Raging Spirits to ignite. They're bonus DPS. We're still carrying them around as we always use the Flame Wall for more DPS on our mages. Now, the Pain Offering does get some interesting supports. We put a Fund of Mana on that if we offer someone up and we stand next to it, we have more mana. Then we'll add an Ablation to have more damage, and a Fund of Rage, so all the minions around are getting Rage and do more damage. And for that Fund of Rage, you would need Strength. And now just to throw an eye on here, Dex, Strength, Dex, Strength, 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 Dex, Strength. So a lot of the stat nodes are currently sitting not at intelligence, they're sitting at the other stats, as I needed this for all the varied amounts of different kind of gems we have been using. Have an eye out for that. And as we're slowly reaching into the end game, now there are 2 things still missing that need to change. First, let's look at the passives though, because what we're going to try to do is get the next jewel over here, move all the way down, and we get even faster revives. You'll also get the elemental resistance, and then again, even more area of effect and cooldown recovery. That the actual frost bomb you're dropping down are frost bombing harder. After this, I choose to go for more energy shield first, just to make sure that we have a lot of energy shield and mana regeneration. But then I picked up the next damage node on the side. And this would be a lot of minion damage, together with 25% more minion damage, maximum life, and resistance. Very huge, plus another gem for minion damage. Now, you could say it's time for a lot of defense. But what I will go for is over to the side next to our bonus movement speed, attack speed node, and we'll pick up more critical hit chance and bonus with another gem. And as we can now go through these nodes for more energy shield, we can also take out all these points right here. Because this is a better connection instead of going through this. Since we get the energy shield, we still get all our nodes over there, and we're very good off with the bonus critical strike damage. Since we're now moving into the mapping endgame stage, and that's where Frostbomb becomes kinda useless. It's going out. Because from this point on, we're gonna play Eye of Winter, which inflicts critical weakness on hit. Critical weakness causes hits against affected targets to have more critical hit chance and can stack up to 20 times. Don't mind if I add Strip Away to increase the exposure effect that Eye of Winter will do, if you also add Cold Exposure. And in order to fly through all your enemies, we're adding Pierce, that it just goes straight through, and also the Unleash support to just have more going on, which means we're now putting down the Flame Wall, Eye of Winter, into offering Hypothermia, and everything just dies to our lats. The Flame Wall still has the Raging Spirits going on. The Eye of Winter will go through the Flame Wall and make everyone more susceptible to getting critted, as we just boosted our crit damage bonus significantly. And since we're in the mapping stage, I added Grim Feast finally. Now, if you feel like you need Grim Feast earlier, use it earlier. It will cost you 1 minion. I did not need it until the mapping stage. Would I have died 1 time less? Maybe. But I was super safe all the time because of the freeze my minions provided. But now in the mapping stage, there's sometimes so many enemies and I'm pushing so hard forward that Grim Feast is just very useful to play. Now for our gear, it was super funny because we played the Enfolding Dawn still. Yeah, we're in the end game, we're mapping Enfolding Dawn stays, together with the Oaksworn shield right now. I haven't put it away yet. Sure, if I find a new chest with like 50, 60 spirit, I'll throw it out. Until then it stays. You do want to have a helmet with plus minion skills, and if you find one with +2, no matter what level that item is, you will keep it. No matter how few energy, you will keep it. The same goes for an amulet. You find an amulet with +2 to minion skills, you'll keep this forever. This is already +4 to minion skills. This is your biggest damage scaler. Would you want to have this on your wand too? Yes, your scepter should have that as well. But you also want to have increased spirit on it, so it can be quite harsh to find. For my rings, it's just a simple rarity find and also a lot of resistances. On the gloves, they're trash, but they have a lot of resistances too. And we're looking to get quite some maximum mana in the beginning, as my maximum mana cannot rise because of my intelligence. Right now I'm sitting at 400 mana, and my curse is already 240. Technically I would be at 661. That's where our maximum mana on items is helping to push us a little bit higher. Now you can see I haven't redone my points as I just showed you in the planner, because I did not have enough points to do that yet. But I'll go through the spiral and then over here and pick up all the critical hit chance and even more minion critical hit damage bonuses. Ladies and gentlemen, Skeletal Frost Mages, do I have you convinced? Are you going to give it a try and try it out? As a heads up, my friend Neil is already playing this in tier 17, 15++, Corrupted Pinnacle Arbiter of Ash mobs, and he's kind of doing millions of damage unbuffed without even throwing the offering in. But we're talking about Skeletal Mage level of 35+, with a scepter with +5 and the amulets with many and the helmet. It's crazy. And in order to get even more minions, we're looking to pick up Bite Its Will for that maximum spirit per maximum life. As we already have 1,500 life, that's going to be nice. And I'll probably boost my energy shield, or I'll get myself more mana in the long run, as simply adding Mind Over Matter makes you more tanky. It's not really needed, as we're more tanky enough because the freeze just freezes everything and no one can attack me. But still, it might be a nice layer of defense later on. If you're now looking for help with your 3rd, 4th Ascendancy, ladies and gentlemen, we got you covered. Have a fantastic good day and enjoy your time with the Frost Witch.